Hello there, people of the internet. This right here was sent to me. Now, I'm not being paid for any of this, so this is going to be an honest go-over, but I told them I'd go ahead and I'd check this stuff out because the reality is this right here is something that I myself would find extremely useful. So this right here is a dry lubricant, and I never really put much thought into dry lubricants. It doesn't necessarily have to be for firearms, although I'm going to be using it for firearms, but they specifically advertise that these can be used for engines or basically anything that has two metal surfaces rubbing up against one another. This right here is, well, a really, really good application for what it is that I specifically need. I live in the state of Florida, and in the state of Florida, I have had very difficult times with keeping a firearm in my vehicle simply because of this right here. If I grab this, this is something I had in my trunk. This is a gun case, and if you look on the gun case, you see all that extremely fine sand that is all over this gun case. That extremely fine sand gets absolutely everywhere on everything that you keep inside of your trunk. And so as a result, no self-loading firearm I've ever kept in my trunk has been reliable. I always need to use manual firearms as my vehicle gun just because of the location that I'm currently in. Now, with that fine sand, that does cause some issues, but whenever I go lubricating my firearm with something like a traditional oil-based lubricant, it like that fine sand just absolutely sticks to the surface of the firearm. Then the firearm becomes basically completely inoperable. So, that being said, I've already made videos talking about the fine sands on my ARs and AKs and whatnot, and how basically they all fail, or they're at least not reliable enough for me to put my life on. So having a dry lubricant like this right here might potentially get around that problem. We're going to go ahead and do some testing and inspections with this, and we're going to see what we can pull off. So what this is this right here is a Kiss My Ash. I love that. Kiss My Ash lubricating powder. We got 1 gram and 2 gram amounts. Now, I will leave a link down below if you guys want to go grab yourself some of this and check it out. As a matter of fact, I was even given a code if you want to get yourself a discount. So go ahead and use that code down below. I was doing a whole lot of research on these things, and I took a couple of notes in my journal of random miscellaneous things, some video ideas, some random notes and jots, and just all sorts of stuff. And in my time of doing research on this, I learned a lot of things. First off, I got a couple of things that were specifically told to me. It is a modified tungsten disulfide, which is what they use as a base, and that is kind of why it looks like, oh, I don't know, I'd probably call it black cocaine. It's an extremely fine powder. And what this stuff does is it actually embeds itself into the pores of the metal of whatever it is that you're using, and it essentially lubricates like that. Now, this is, since it's a dry lubricant, it's actual physical material that's going to be inside that firearm itself. But it is operating at extremely small film thicknesses. And so as a result of that, you don't have to worry about having to change tolerances or anything with the firearms that you're using. I know some of your dry lubricants out there, they can be a little bit on the thicker side, and so having a nice, tightly wound, low-tolerance firearm like an AR platform, that could cause some issues. But this right here does not seem, from what I've heard, to have any issues with that. The film thickness has a minimum of 2/10 millionths of an inch, which is absolutely nuts, and a absolute maximum thickness of 1/10,000ths. So if that holds true, we should not see any issues at all in terms of tolerance with this right here. Because if this right here was too thick of a thickness, then I may as well be sprinkling, you know, that sand on my AR platform. It's just not going to operate. So this stuff, like I said, embeds itself into the pores of the metal itself to lubricate that surface. And also, from what I was told in the emails with the people I was talking to, it also protects against rust. So that would be actually a really, really good additive. because if, well, I use oil to protect my firearms from rust. Here in Florida, it's humid. Oil is a really good option. So I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle some of this on some guns that I know have issues with rusting, and we're going to see how well that actually protects against rust. I feel like that's going to be a really good time. Now, that being said, this right here, it's not advertised to protect against rust. That's just something I was told in an email. It is advertised as a lubricant. And I also asked how you get this stuff off of your firearm, and they say wipe it down with a rag using alcohol, and that will remove the items. So this is, we got 1 gram and 2 gram. The 1 gram is currently costing $12, and the 2 gram is currently $20, I do believe. These right here are 2 different containers, and honestly, it kind of looks like makeup containers. So this is what really makes me feel like it's a makeup container. It actually has a little brush on the inside that you can use to apply something kind of like mascara. Okay, so that's actually a pretty cool little addition to this. So the packs that they send you, they just kind of come in these little plastic packs, or at least this is what mine came in. They send you a couple of little applicators, and they're basically just fancy Q-tips. I imagine regular Q-tips would work the same. And then we got our information, and we got all sorts of stuff all over this. What is this? This is ingredients. Ooh. If we want to look at the ingredients, go ahead and just pause the video and read through that, because I'm not going to understand any of it. Thank you for your purchase. Here's some information on the company. Like I said, I'll go ahead and I will leave a link below. And more ingredients. Fantastic. Alright, so first things first, I imagine that most people are just gonna lube up their AR with this stuff here, and that's just gonna be the most common thing, simply because the AR is one of the most common rifles here inside the United States. I'm probably going to go ahead and use this little guy right here, because it's already got the applicator on it, and I'll set the big thing aside. We'll save that for later testing. So, of course, to lubricate your AR, you got to take apart your AR, and I can't do that on screen. Otherwise, YouTube will yell at me and say, hey, you're doing modifications or some nonsense like that. So this is my AR that we're going to be using. This is a Delton DTI-15. You guys have seen this plenty of times on the channel. And she is dry. Listen to how dry this chamber is. I mean, you just look in there and see there's no lubrication on this thing whatsoever. That is dry. It's actually so dry that you can see the finish starting to get scratched up on this thing. I run this thing dry because this right is actually my coyote gun, and out in the field taking out coyotes, it's alright if you have a malfunction every now and then, but since I'm dealing with areas that are filled with sand, yeah, I don't want to have to worry about a bunch of oily sand all over my firearm while I'm trying to get things done. So we're going to try this stuff right here, and we're going to see how well it feels on this AR platform. Let me go ahead and take this thing apart. These things really are like you're playing on easy mode. They're so easy to disassemble. You can change out calibers and whatnot. Just such a fantastic rifle. So they actually sent me a tutorial guide on how to actually apply this stuff to your firearm, and they like took apart the entire AR platform, and they took apart the bolt carrier group and the buffer system and just all sorts of stuff. And if you want to go that in depth, absolutely feel free to. But I think that if we just lube up our bolt carrier group, that will be more than enough for me to be able to feel the difference. Alright, we are officially disassembled. I went ahead and I did another quick cleaning of all of our materials right here just to make sure that we don't have any carbon buildup on them, and that will help the lubricant actually get into the pores of the metal. So, that being said, I'm sure you notice I am wearing gloves. This right here, the smallest film on it, the smallest little particles on this lubricant are 2 10-millionths of an inch. The average human skin cell is approximately 1/1000th of an inch. So there is definitely possibility for this being absorbed into the skin, and I'd like to go ahead and prevent that, which is why I am wearing gloves. So what I'm going to do here is I'm essentially going to grab my little brush right here and set this on the ground so I don't spill it whenever I ultimately knock this tray around. And I'm just going to take this I'm going to apply this little lubricant to all the surfaces on this. You can actually see it kind of starting to color this thing. And that is a dry lubricant that is going to serve us extremely well from what I've been able to gather. Make sure we get the locking lugs. This right here is always a part that you want to have lubed up on your firearms. Wonderful. So our bolt carrier group is nice and lubed up. I'm just going to go ahead and spread that around a little bit. Perfect. We got that. May as well grab this. One of the things that they stress about with this stuff is that a little bit goes a very long way. And that makes sense. I can actually see it coloring the metal as I color over this. So now the actual bolt carrier group itself, that right there is quite the sizable piece. So I'm going to reapply. Just toss this in there and shake it up a little bit and pull her back out. Alright, now we're going for the bolt carrier group itself, and this is one of the things. Wow, look at that, you can actually see it coloring. So I guess just make sure that you get the entire thing nice and colored in. Okay, I currently only have one gloved hand now, so I will have to do this with one gloved hand. Now we are reassembled, and you can see a very light film all over the bolt carrier group and the internals of this bolt. And I tell you what, guys, like, just from what I can feel with the assembly and disassembly of this thing, how smoothly and easily parts went back together versus how difficult and gritty they were taking apart, I am already noticing a significant difference. And there I go, knocking over my vial. At least I didn't spill it. This is why I set these things on the floor, so I don't throw them everywhere. Alright, let me reassemble this, and we will have a look at the end result. Alright, fair warning, I have no idea where I left off. I had something come up, and I was not able to finish this video, and as a result, this is a couple days later. So this right here is the AR that I lubed up, and as we can see, our bolt carrier group has a significantly different finish on it. So it almost looks like pencil graphite. I know, well, I play guitar, and one of the tricks that guitarists use is on the nut of the guitar, you actually take a pencil and you color in the nut, and the graphite helps lubricate that nut so you don't get your strings sticking whenever you're trying to tune them. This might work in that same sort of way. However, like I said, it does look like graphite, but it's apparently made out of something very, very different than graphite. So I have not actually checked this thing out yet. Let's go ahead and actually pull this back and see how it feels compared to how it was whenever it was dry. All right. I'm not noticing any real significant difference. So, yeah, okay, well, I wouldn't really notice any significant difference even if I used a wet lube. But what I am noticing is that even though, well, it feels a lot less gritty, not necessarily less sticky, but like less gritty. There's less friction with it. But a lot of times with this AR, whenever I try closing the bolt slowly, the bolt carrier group will actually get stuck right about here, and it's just going right into battery. Like, there's no resistance whatsoever. A lot of times on ARs like this, well, you don't want to close the bolt carrier group slowly because then you'll have an out-of-battery situation, and that's where your forward assist would come in to kind of push that bolt carrier group back into battery. And in this particular case, yeah, that's just going right into battery with, like, zero effort whatsoever. So that is already a change that I'm seeing. Now, granted, it would probably do that with a wet lube. I'm not trying to say that this is better than a wet lube in terms of actual lubrication. I'm saying this right here is a better option for lubricating your firearm if you are in, like, say, the state of Florida where we have fine sand everywhere. Alright, so we'll go ahead and we'll bring this out to the range at some point whenever I get the opportunity to. But for now, we're going to set this aside. I have another firearm that we're going to be checking out for this dry lube. As many of you guys know, I'm a military surplus collector. And I have this Type 99 Arisaka. And as you can see, she is in rough shape. She got rust all over her. She is gritty and she is sticky. And oh boy, this would make a fantastic option. Ooh, I just bumped my camera. This would make a fantastic option for testing. So as I close this bolt, once I get to, it's already pretty gosh darn sticky, but as I close this bolt, once I get to about right here, the stickiness and the grittiness really, really gets in there. And it's incredibly apparent about how rough this Type 38 actually is. You can see from the sights just how rusty those are. Barrel bands, this entire rifle is rusty, and the welding is really crude. And this is just an example of a later war Arisaka, where there wasn't much in terms of cosmetic work done to it, and finishing and whatnot done to it. But this right here is what we're dealing with. A very sticky, gritty, dirty, rusty Arisaka. I'm going to go ahead and lube up our bolt real quick. I'll do that off camera. I'm not going to sit here and make y'all watch that again. But I'm going to go ahead and lube up the bolt and probably the inside of the locking lugs themselves, and let's just see how much that helps. Why not? Alright, here's what we're dealing with. First things first, my little cap on this thing fell apart, so I'm just going to go ahead and point that out. Looks like it was glued on. Probably just has to be glued on a little bit better, but I mean, that doesn't make it not usable. So that did come apart, just a heads up. And this right here is the Arisaka bolt that we are looking at. Just like with the bolt carrier of the AR, it looks like it is now covered in graphite. I went ahead and I did all the rotating surfaces, locking lugs, the length of the bolt body. I got all the camming surfaces and whatnot. I got the inside of the bolt pretty good. I made sure to wipe off any grease or like gun oil and whatnot that I probably sprayed on this thing God knows how long ago. So I made sure that she was nice and clean, but she still has some rust on it, so I'm not expecting it to be 100% good. But that being said, even after I stuck this stuff on with how rusty and rough and pitted this thing is, it is still, like, just putting this thing back together, it still is significantly noticeable how easy things go together compared to how they were whenever I was taking them apart. So let me go ahead and put this back inside this rifle here. Okay, we got the Arisaka bolt inside the rifle. Survey says, oh my god. Oh, that is a significant difference just in that little bit that I did. Holy crap. Alright, how about this right here? Boop, boop. Alright, yeah, that is substantial. I was not expecting that one. That is wild. I can do that with 2 fingers now. Okay. All right. I'm actually quite surprised on that one. I'm quite surprised on that one. Remember, I'm not being paid or anything for this, so this is 100% honest. A lot of people, whenever they do reviews like this, they're like, oh, they sent me this, so I have to say that it's good because they're paying me to say it. I'm not making any money off of this, so this is me honestly saying that this stuff right here, I am very, very surprised at how much that smoothed up that action. Alright, I've got another fun little test for us. I just gotta figure out how it is that I'm gonna do it, so I'll be right back once I put something together. Alright, I was unable to really find what I wanted for this little experiment, so this is the best that we got. This is a plastic plate, and what I'm using is not made for plastic, it's made for metal. So this right here is more or less going to be for representation purposes more than anything. So one of the good things about a dry lube like this right here is that, well, anyone who's ever dealt with anything wet at all knows how sticky it can get, especially if we're talking about very fine particles. I have this stuff right here, which is another item that was sent to me not too terribly long ago to check out on the channel. This right here is a CLP, and it is obviously an oil-based lubricant. Something like this right here is not only a lubricant, it is used to clean. A dry lube like this right here would not be used as a cleaning item, whereas something like this absolutely could. That being said, if your firearm is already cleaned, and you have a wet lube like this right here versus something like a dry lube like this right here, go ahead and just scrape some dry lube on right there. You guys can see that there, right? The wet lube is great for cleaning purposes, and the dry lube is great for making sure things don't stick to it. I have some fine Florida sand right here, And if I sprinkle some of this onto our dry lube, like that right there, and some of this onto our wet lube, like that right there, and I knock it down, take note on how much it is sticking to that wet lube versus our dry lube. That's a pretty substantial difference. This right here is exactly what makes my firearms fail whenever I keep them inside the car. We just have extremely fine sand here in the U.S., or not here in the U.S., here in the state of Florida, at least in the area that I'm in, and this stuff gets absolutely everywhere. Or if you're running a particularly dirty cartridge, like for example 22 long rifle, 22 long rifle has a tendency to leave a lot of buildup and debris and whatnot. It's just a dirty firing round. Then if you have wet lube, then you end up with all that carbon just kind of sticking to everything, just like that. So if you were to run a dry lube with your 22 long rifle, you would probably have better results. So this is one of the experiments I wanted to show off. I wanted to do that on metal, but oh well, I just didn't have a piece of metal, so I had to make do with this plate right here. So that right there is what we're looking at. That's one of the big distinguishing benefits of a dry lube versus a wet lube. If you're in an area where you don't have to worry about sand and whatnot like I do, then maybe a wet lube would be a better option for you. Or if you're looking to actually clean your firearm, then a wet lube or a CLP will be a good option for you as well. All right, now I guess we just have the firing portion of this video, and I'm not going to be able to make it to the range for a couple of days, so this video will be stuck on standby, at least for a little while. So I will get back to you guys whenever I get the chance. All right, so here we are out at the new range, and long story short, because of some other filming processes that I currently have to contend with, I don't have the firearms that I originally put this stuff on. Which was my Arisaka and my AR platform, I do believe. I really regret not bringing that AR platform because I believe that right there would be what is in most common use whenever it comes to things like this. But I'm a military surplus channel, and I'm out here filming with a couple military surplus rifles. This right here is my MOS 36, and this has given me a lot of problems. It has just been sticky and gritty, and it's just not been great. This is one of those rifles where it's not one that I really brought out all that often to shoot. In fact, even on this YouTube channel, I think I've only got like one, maybe two videos that involve this rifle, just because the action has not been very easy to manipulate. That being said, I went through and I basically coated everything in this dry lubricant, and well, that did smooth it up, actually quite a bit. Like, I guess it was the internals that were giving me problems. I'm not sure what year of manufacture this is, but it seems to have a pretty crude finish and pretty crude machining on it. So yeah, there's also a bunch of pitting and whatnot on it. So putting this stuff at least on the internals along with the gliding systems on the bolt itself, you can actually kind of still see it there. It looks like graphite almost. Putting all this on this bolt right here should help with it, and I'll be honest, it actually has helped with it. I have a couple of rounds of 7.5 French. I don't have a crimp die for this yet, so I'm just going to be single loading these things, but I got a couple of rounds, and we're just going to send some lead down range and see if it feels any better compared to how this thing was, because it was not great. It already feels much better. So I don't really have a target out here. I'm just going to go ahead and start slinging some lead, and we'll see what it is that we feel like hitting. I'm going to shoot at, I don't know, that thing. Well, she fired. Now's the big thing. Many times with this right here, I have had issues with extracting cartridges, even this brand new PPU brass stuff. And I think that just has to do with the chamber. It's just not very, well, it's well worn. So I actually coated the chamber in this MOS 36 here in that dry lubricant, and let's see how much easier this is to extract than it has been in the past. All right, survey says, oh, that's a world of difference. Oh, that fell out. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's awesome. All right, let me send another round downrange and see if that was just a fluke here. I got me another one, and load her up, and let's shoot at no. Oh god, the camera. Oh god, the wind. Oh no, you guys stay right there. Y'all ain't going anywhere. Alright, y'all good? Fantastic. Let's shoot at, I don't know this thing. Well, it went flying for what that's worth. Survey says, dude, this is like a new freaking gun. Holy Christ. Okay, alright, I'm saving my brass. Call me a FUD if you want. The 26, actually 27 now, my birthday was like 2 days ago. 27-year-old FUD who saves his brass at the gun range because he likes to reload. Okay, another target. I don't know. Since there's just so much garbage out here, it's kind of hard to really pick a target. I see something that's made of wood right there. Let's shoot the wood thing. Well, the wood thing's been shot. 7.5 French has more recoil than I remember. So, yeah, this is just extracting very easily now. That's awesome. That's actually really awesome. That's something that was not advertised to me by the manufacturer of this stuff. That's just something that I wanted to piece together. And we actually have another experiment that I'm going to be running with another rifle once we're done with this right here. So now let's shoot at... I see a thing right there. I have no idea what it is, but it looks mechanical. So I'm going to shoot it with some 7.5 French. Well, it's been shot and it didn't really move much, so okay, well, there we go. This right here is phenomenal, actually really phenomenal. I feel like I would enjoy using this now. That is sweet. That is really sweet. Let me grab my other rifle I got here. Okay, up next, this right here is my 6.5 Carcano Troop Special. You guys have seen this on the channel plenty of times. I brought this out a bunch. I actually have a clip insert for a single shot Carcano system here, and this was sent to me by one of you guys. Y'all have been asking me, this particular guy has been asking me to test this out, bring it to the range, so here you go. I'm testing it out at the range because I don't have a Carcano clip with me right now. So what I did here with this rifle is, well, this rifle's never been bad at cycling or extracting or anything like that. I haven't done anything to the rifle itself. What we are checking out is the ammunition. Whenever I was loading this ammunition, a lot of times you use like a lubricant and whatnot for the loading process, especially if you're doing certain things to brass, and that's I'll go into that at another time whenever I make a video about reloading. But whenever you're reloading, you need some sort of lubricant just to make sure that your cases don't stick to things, and if you are using lead, then you want to have some sort of lubricant on your projectiles and so on. So whenever I was reloading, I actually used that dry lubricant, the stuff that we were talking about before, the Kiss My Ash. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that or not. But I was using that dry lubricant to reload, and it worked very well. Not particularly better or worse than anything else, but for logistical purposes, if you want a dry lube that you can use on both your firearm and your reloading equipment, then there you go. That's a pretty gosh darn good option. So that's what I reloaded these 6.5 Carcano rounds with. They still have a little bit of a film on them from that. And what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, here's the kicker about this stuff. I got it loaded with flake powder that I pulled from 8mm Turk ammo. So let's see if this blows up in my face and I gotta do a whole Kentucky ballistics. I'm willing to bet probably not. The 6.5 Carcano has actually, well, the Carcano Action has actually been chambered for full power 8mm Mauser rounds before, and those rifles haven't blown up, and this is significantly less powerful than that. So I'm willing to bet that we'll probably be fine. So I don't really know what I'm gonna shoot at. Let's just shoot at the wood real quick. All right, we shot at the wood real quick. Now comes the extraction. Very nice. I was talking to the manufacturer about this stuff, and I was asking what kind of materials it could be used with, whether or not it could be used with like brass and lead and whatnot. And they said they didn't know. So I actually used it on brass and whatnot, and it seems to work really well. I know it worked really well in that freaking Moss 36, and it worked really well for the loading procedures of this Carcano ammunition. Granted, my rifle here is a little sticky. Maybe I'll put some on this rifle. That seems to do the trick, dude.
Like, this stuff really seems to do the trick, more than like oil and whatnot would. Because if I were to just spray this with like a CLP or something like that, I've done that multiple times and it hasn't really helped all that much. But that like Kiss My Ash stuff, that seems to like add another, like a film on top of it, like another layer for metal to slide against, and it just seems to help significant amounts. Okay, let's go for that thing right there. Well, it was shot and it sent stuff flying. That was awesome. All right, so this Carcano magazine insert seems to work really well, and I don't think that there's any 5-shot Carcano clips out there, so using something like this for hunting purposes might be a good way to go. Is that a steel target? Oh, there's a steel target right there. Oh, we're gonna back up some. I'm not shooting at that this close. Okay, let's go ahead and set you guys right there. And I'm just going to see if I can hit that steel from right here. Let's find out. Nope, I missed that one. I'm not quite sure where this Carcano hits. I know it hits significantly high. This Troop Special hits like higher than my other Carcano rifles that I have in my collection, besides maybe my smoothbore one that's completely shot out. Let me try aiming a little bit lower, see if we hit it. We grazed it. I see it moving now. That's awesome. Okay. It's just one of those little steel spinners. I think it's not mine. This is a public range that I'm at, so I don't necessarily want to hit it with a bunch of rifle ammo. Let's walk over here and see what it looks like, and I'll show it to y'all. The beauty about being out here on a public range, there's always something to shoot at. I see old vacuum cleaner. I'm seeing old bag right here. Are you still good? Maybe. And over here is our steel spinner. I think I got somewhere right there. Well, that is pretty awesome. As a matter of fact, yeah, that is actually really awesome. There's a lot of stuff out here. Look at this thing. Hell yeah. Well, there you go, folks. Is that a steel target out there? I don't know what that is. I'm gonna shoot it and see if it makes a ringing sound. What is that out there? Let's shoot it and find out. Welcome to Florida. Okay, I got a couple more 6.5 Carcano rounds with me. Let's send a round downrange at that thing and see what kind of sound it makes. Did it make a ringing noise? I saw a bunch of smoke and whatnot come off of it, but I'll be honest, I just kind of had a ringing in my ears. So let's send another. I got one more Carcano round, and there's no point in going home with ammunition in your pocket. So let's do one more. Why not? Okay. I'm not sure if that's steel or not, but I know I hit it a couple of times. That's pretty cool. I like that. I like having a long-range target like that out there. And that's a much bigger target than this little tiny steel silhouette. Hitting that with Carcano, kind of on the difficult side. Okay, I should probably do the outro here. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. Again, I'm not paid for this. I'm just very impressed by it. And all they did was send it to me. So I have no obligation to give them a good review. And if this stuff sucked, I would have said that it sucked. But it's actually really awesome. And it's stuff that I will likely use in the future because, my God, is it convenient. And it just seems to do stuff that traditional gun oils can't seem to do. And I imagine it's probably going to last a lot longer than gun oil, because gun oil tends to, well, essentially evaporate over time. It does leave like a residue in a film to protect your firearms, but it's just not as good in my experience. All right, thanks for watching, folks. I will see you guys on the next episode. I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garrett. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.